The United States military says that it has lifted its naval blockade of Iranian ports, part of an agreement between the US and Iran suspending military operations during a period of negotiations. US Central Command, CENTCOM, said on Thursday that all US blockade efforts have ceased, but that its forces will remain in the area to ensure compliance with the agreement.
Provision in a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, to end the US-Israel war with Iran has become the latest political flashpoint in Washington, with President Donald Trump defending the commitment to create a $300 BN reconstruction plan for Iran. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance both sought to reassure on Thursday that the commitment would not be funded by US taxpayers. Still, several Democrats and a handful of Republicans have seized on the planned fund at a time when affordability and economic populism have dominated the country's electoral politics. An international coalition of countries has warned at the United Nations Human Rights Council that Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, could imminently escalate an assault on the central city of El Obeid. The statement, delivered by Norway, was presented on behalf of the Coalition for Atrocity Prevention and Justice for Sudan, comprising Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands and Sierra Leone, which said they were also joined by 21 other countries.
Rivian has been sued over allegations that the EV maker made false claims about the autonomous driving capabilities of its R1T truck and R1S SUV models. The class action complaint, which was filed Wednesday in the US District Court for the Central District of California, focuses on the first-generation models of the R1T and R1S and claims that Rivian represented that these flagship vehicles would be capable of hands-free, eyes-off driving.
With each new season comes another YC demo day. On Tuesday, the Spring 2026 cohort was unveiled, filled with defence tech, robotics, AI infrastructure and developer tools, and of course AI agents themselves. TechCrunch spoke to 8 investors to determine which ones were the hottest companies in this batch, both the ones they were watching and the startups they heard other VCs couldn't get enough of. This list consists primarily of companies that had been flagged by at least 2 investors as the buzziest in the batch. OpenAI is bringing on some big names to the team in the lead-up to its public debut. Google DeepMind AI legend Noam Shazier and former Trump White House AI policy official Dean Ball. Shazier, a co-lead at Gemini and the founder of AI role-playing startup Character AI, announced his departure on Wednesday. He had been at Google since 2000, leaving only for a 3-year period when he left to co-found Character AI. 2 years ago, Google rehired Shazier in a $2.7 billion deal that gave the tech giant access to the startup's technology.
United States Vice President J.D. Vance on Thursday issued a rare rebuke of Israel during a White House press briefing, criticizing Israeli lawmakers who had opposed the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the United States and Iran. Under the deal, the 2 sides have agreed on a framework to end the war, reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and a 60-day timeline for further talks. The parents of a boy who shot dead 9 children and a security guard at a Serbian elementary school have been given jail terms in a retrial in Belgrade. The boy was 13 when he shot dead 7 girls, a boy and a school guard at Vladislav Ribnikar School in Belgrade in 2023. Another girl died later in hospital.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a 3-year-old boy ended up in a crocodile enclosure at a zoo in central England on Thursday, resulting in him sustaining critical injuries, police said. Cambridgeshire police said officers were called following reports of an incident at Johnson's of Oldhurst, a zoo near Huntingdon, which resulted in the boy being in the enclosure. News of the damage must surely have found its way into the most isolated of bunkers. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been accused of secluding himself from the deteriorating realities of his invasion of Ukraine. But the staggering images from Moscow's skyline on Thursday surely mark a moment when even the thickest levels of insulation around the Kremlin head cannot shield him from the sound of repeated blasts just 10 miles away that obliterated refineries, leading to thick black smoke wafting over Russia's capital.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar says he is suspending contact with the European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, after reports that she compared Israel's treatment of Palestinians to South Africa's former apartheid system. The diplomatic row erupted after European news outlet Euractiv reported last week that Kallas made the remarks during high-level talks with Mexican officials in May.
South Africa scored a penalty 7 minutes from full time as they fought back to draw 1-1 with the Czech Republic at the World Cup. After falling behind early in the group, a clash. Teboho Mokoena slotted home the spot kick after Pavel Sulk's handball handed the South Africans a lifeline on Thursday as they were staring at potential early elimination. China's foreign minister says that emerging economies remain underrepresented in global governance institutions, presenting China's new white paper on making global governance more equitable. Minister Wang Yi argued that the role of the United Nations should be strengthened and developing countries should have a stronger voice in the world body.
If Amazon Web Services has its way, the cloud giant is going to push even deeper into NVIDIA's market. In what might be one of the biggest challenges to NVIDIA's AI chip dominance we've seen so far, Amazon's AI chief Peter DeSantis told Bloomberg that AWS is in talks to sell its AI chip Trainium to other companies for use in data centers. DeSantis declined to specify which companies could be the buyers of such chips.
Dating app giant Match Group, which owns apps like Tinder, Hinge and OkCupid, conducted a study to determine how US singles really feel about the relationship between AI and dating. Turns out, people don't want AI messing with every aspect of human life. Across the industry, dating apps are experimenting with AI. Bumble introduced a dating assistant named Bee, and Tinder is spending so much on AI tools that it slowed its hiring process. Meanwhile, Hinge's CEO stepped down last year to launch a more AI-focused dating app altogether.
Teboho Mokoena's penalty kept South Africa's dream of reaching the World Cup knockout stages for the first time alive after a 1-1 draw with the Czech Republic in Atlanta on Thursday. Mitchell Sadalek's early opener had the Czechs on course for just their second World Cup win as an independent nation. Admitting the Crime Control Department's, CCD, mistake in the shooting of a young girl in Chakwal earlier this month, the Punjab police and the CCD said on Thursday that the incident would neither be defended nor covered up under any circumstances. They also described the shooting as a case of criminal negligence, saying that the CCD official's lack of training had contributed to his inability to assess the situation correctly.
The United States Supreme Court has sided with a marijuana user from the state of Texas who had argued that a federal law barring illegal drug users from owning a firearm violated the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. All 9 of the court's justices ruled in favor of Ali Daniel Hemani on Thursday. The government's ability to restrict does not eliminate. The government's ability to restrict gun access for drug users.
United States President J.D. Vance has been defending the Memorandum of Understanding to end the US-Israeli war with Iran, responding to criticism of the deal from members of the opposing Democratic Party and Republicans alike. But speaking during an interview with the New York Times, published on Thursday, the day after US President Donald Trump and Iranian President Pezeshkian inked the MoU, Vance reserved some of his harshest criticism for Israel, whose leaders have continually pushed Washington to continue the war.
Zimbabwe's lower house of parliament has passed a bill to extend presidential terms, which would allow President Emerson Mnangagwa to remain in power until 2030. Some 216 lawmakers in the National Assembly voted in favour of the draft legislation on Thursday, passing the 187 mark needed for a two-thirds majority.
A data breach at a Texas state government department allowed hackers to take the driver's license information and passport numbers of more than 3 million people. According to the state's attorney general, the incident is one of the largest data breaches to affect the state this year. When Tony Fadell entered New York City's 28th Street subway station, he did not expect to come face-to-face with an advertisement for a product he designed over 20 years ago. But there it was, a 5-by-4-foot poster promoting the iPod Shuffle, luring passers-by with the promise of zero screen time. The first thing was, I thought, wait a second, did somebody not change the ad? Fadell, known as the father of the iPod, told TechCrunch. For somebody like me who knows that thing intimately, it's like seeing your kid's picture.
The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, told grid operators on Thursday to fast-track interconnection requests from data centres and other large electricity users. Under the orders, 6 major grid operators have to show that data centres are able to connect to will be responsible system in a timely and orderly manner. The data centres approved the orders unanimously. Commissioners approved the orders unanimously.
Doom scrolling on social media is a very common problem and can feel like an endless loop of constantly losing track of time. Instead of tackling this issue with strict limits, a new mindful screen time app called Mevo Scrolling is trying to shake things up. Launched last month, Mevo doesn't look super different from other screen time apps. It tracks screen time, usage patterns, and provides insights into daily habits. However, Mevo believes what sets its app apart is its no-shaming approach. The idea that users should be more intentional about their time online has also been fueling the slow tech movement as of late, which is focused on rethinking our relationship with technology. Rivian has been sued over allegations that the EV maker made false claims about the autonomous driving capabilities of its R1T truck and R1S SUV models. The class action complaint, which was filed Wednesday in the US District Court, focuses on the first-generation models of the R1T and R1S, and claims that Rivian represented that these flagship vehicles would be capable of free, hands-free, eyes-off driving.
Karachi e-commerce platform Daraz Pakistan has officially launched the Apple flagship store on Daraz Mall in partnership with G-Next, Apple's authorized distributor in Pakistan. According to a press release issued by Daraz on Thursday, a formal signing ceremony was held at the Daraz head office in Karachi, bringing together senior representatives from the e-commerce platform and G-Next to mark the launch.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has severely criticized some of America's NATO allies while announcing a 6-month review of the presence of US forces in Europe. It's a review that some countries will fail and others will pass with flying colours, he said at a meeting of NATO defence ministers in Brussels, singling out allies that he suggested had been free-riding.
An attack by armed men on an airport in Niger's capital has killed 11 soldiers and 2 civilians, according to the country's defence ministry. 5 months after a major assault, 22 armed attackers were also killed in the assault, and about 20 suspects were apprehended, the ministry added in a press statement read out on national television on Thursday.
Al Jazeera's Zaina Qadr brings you the latest from southern Lebanon as people begin returning home under a fragile US-Iran ceasefire.
Representatives from the United States and Iran are expected to meet in Switzerland on Friday to mark a deal ending the US-Israeli war on Iran and to start the next stage of negotiations. The 14-point Memorandum of Understanding setting out a framework for talks during a 60-day negotiation period was signed by the US and Iran on Wednesday.